Hey everyone, CM here with a quick note about what this episode is. With the new film adaptation of The Long Walk coming up, we wanted to give you a one-stop refresher before you see it, or maybe you're coming back after the movie and want to hear how Bachman's book compares to what made it on screen. What you're about to hear is our book club edition of The Long Walk, a curated best of from our original 3-part discussion. We've tightened some things up, trimmed the off-topic tangents, and kept the heart of the conversation intact so you can experience the essence of our take on this haunting story. A quick note before we begin, these episodes were first recorded in early 2019, more than 6 years ago, back when Derry Public Radio was still finding its voice. So if we sound a little bit different, it's because we were. A lot has changed since then in the best possible ways. So whether you're stepping onto the walk for the first time or taking another lap with us, let's lace up and hit the road together. Welcome back to Derry Public Radio. Reporting from the basement of the Derry Civic Center, this is CM Alexander with the news. This year's annual Long Walk is almost upon us, and the Major's office has released a few new stipulations for the prize. Officials assure the public these changes are simply to clarify expectations after last year's controversy. The Major reminds future contestants that while the walk is meant to test the human spirit, it is not intended to, quote, cause lasting reputational harm to the program, end quote. No further questions were taken at the press conference. You're listening to Derry Public Radio. This is Derry Public Radio. So the book, The Long Walk, is about an event, also called The Long Walk, and it happens annually, every May, and our main character, 16-year-old Ray Garrity, is one of 99 other teenage boys chosen to compete. We start off knowing a few simple things. The first is that the rules are you stay at or above speed. If you fall under speed, you get up to 3 warnings, and after the 3rd warning, you get a ticket. The other thing we know, which becomes very chilling and as early as Chapter 2, is that all the boys seem to understand the stakes of the competition. They seem fully informed, and Garrity, for example, is nervous, but he's also excited. In the first chapter, we meet Garrity and his presumably sick mom as she drops him off.
Wait, hold on.
Wait, what?
What?
You guys didn't...
No, I did not think that did not occur to me.
Where'd that come from?
Yeah, the way that she's described as looking like she recently lost a lot of weight, like her clothes are hanging off of her. Her hair is
I
gray.
assume it's because she found out her son was going to die.
Yes, spoiler. I read that as it's from nerves because her son has signed up for the walk. We also know that there is some amount of tragedy in the Garrity household because we learn that his father has, he's not around anymore.
Yeah, they allude that he's just gone, and they didn't say why.
And that could be why she's very definitely, obviously, very ill.
Sure.
Sure. Ill with nerves.
Assumed it was a product of the what we learned to be dystopic society that this story takes place.
Maybe I'm just really dark. That was what came to my mind. The way he described his mom, she seemed sick to me.
I can see that. Yeah.
So I mean, I've read the book, but I'm trying to be true to my first impressions.
I have not, and I just assumed that it was nerves. That was my guess.
All right, so we also meet a few other boys, ones that are going to come up, so I'm just going to say their names so that we can try to keep those in mind. Peter McRees, or McRise, I don't know how you say it, Hank Olson, Art Baker, and a guy named Stebbins. We're also slowly introduced to the rules of the walk in the casual, straightforward nature in which the walk is presented, which makes it all the more jarring when we find out what it means to get a ticket. Although we probably shouldn't be surprised because the tagline of the book is only death can keep you from the finish line in the ultimate competition of the all-too-near future.
It's... Josh, you're the only one that hasn't read this book before, as always. And step up your game, man.
Yeah, right.
And I'm excited to hear your impression. How much did you know going into
All right, now I've got a real hot take off the top.
Cool.
The ticket,
Yes.
which is like you get your ticket. It's very obviously death. Getting your ticket punched is a very common turn of phrase for like dying.
Is it?
Not for like a teenage girl when I first read this.
Yeah, I remember having to put the book down the first time. The first contestant punches his ticket.
Yeah.
I remember going, oh, shit.
I'm with you. I think if I remember correctly, when I first read it, I kind of had an idea, but when it actually happened, I didn't want to believe it because that's horrible. It's really, really bad.
It's definitely horrible. But I also think that, as the time you guys read it years and years ago, since then, I have read things like Battle Royale and the Hunger Games that are all elimination by death things. So that pop culture influence in my mind, and then hearing the phrase, you get your ticket, not you get a ticket, you get your ticket. You get your ticket punched.
Yeah.
So this was kind of spoiled for you because it's been done so many times since. All 100 boys have been dropped off. We're still in the first part of the book, first chapter. They've all said goodbye to their families, and someone called the Major shows up to assign them their numbers and remind them to keep hint 13 in mind, which is to conserve energy whenever possible, because this guy can't even be bothered to give a speech. And they can't see his eyes because he's wearing sunglasses and he won't take them off. And this struck me as really dismissive, but when Garrity's talking about him, like in his monologue, it's almost like this Major is a celebrity of sorts. So what were your first impressions of the Major?
Well, he's a dictator. He's the all-powerful leader of whatever this... I mean, we know we're in the United States because this takes place in Maine.
Right.
Garrity's home state. He's Maine's own boy. But it's scarily militaristic. This Major shows up in a military convoy, essentially. And I pictured him in like khaki military uniform with big aviator sunglasses and just very imposing.
That's funny only because I was like, oh, this is like the Ryan Seacrest of this world. Only because like the people were so excited to see him. Like I think they referenced somebody who says they have like a poster of the Major on their wall, and in my brain I'm thinking like fanboy, not like military propaganda. Everybody would probably have a poster of the Major, so that makes way more sense the way you thought about it.
Yeah, because
I just thought of him as like a
him,
TV celebrity,
almost mythically. Like he's
Garrity's father, who is also very, very ill. You guys.
Ill with a case of black bag syndrome.
He referred to the Major as the rarest and most dangerous monster any nation can produce, a society-supported sociopath. All right, so 9 a.m. sharp comes around, the walk starts, and this is when we find out that you have to walk 4 miles per hour at least. You cannot slow down. And one of the boys, Stebbins, gets a warning for falling below speed, and we find out that it takes an hour to get rid of a warning. And we also find out that the walk is not exactly televised, but people are definitely interested in it. They line up. Garrity is main zone. People hold up signs for him.
Mm-hmm. He gets to touch butts.
Yeah.
Stebbins, right out the gate getting that first warning, I thought that was genius. Figure out where that 4 miles per hour threshold is, and then just chill.
Yeah, that's such a crazy rule, because, like, think about if someone told you, hey, walk down the street, you have to go at exactly 4 miles an hour. No one could do that.
No one knows
that's
inherently.
Insane.
Yeah.
I did go to the gym since I started reading this. And I got on the treadmill. And I just, to see like, okay, 4 miles per hour. I'm not like super in shape, but I mean, it's a pretty kind of casual yet slightly brisk walk. So Josh, you think it's interesting that Stebbins figures out where that line is, gets his first ticket. What did you think about Barkovich, who stops to take a pebble out of his shoe and gets all 3 warnings?
I honestly thought that Barkovich was going to be out. Like, I really thought that was going to be how that played out, that he was going to get all three and get punched right then and there.
I wish.
Right. Well, the thing that intrigued me, though, is that he gets the pebble out of his shoe and whatever, and then he just says it's all part of the plan. Because Hank Olsen also alludes to that he has a plan and he has a strategy. Mm-hmm. They obviously don't share them with each other, but it seems like everybody has, like, their thing.
A lot of the characters have their own views on the walk, and I wanted to ask you guys what you thought about the characters in the story, because there's quite a few who I think everyone is super interesting. Like, I, with the exception of Barkovich, really like all of the characters. So who's you guys' favorite walker?
I think my favorite so far is Stebbins. In this, like, early on, there's no interaction. He, like, doesn't, like, say anything. And I think it's, like, towards the end of where we stop for this book that he finally starts chiming in a little bit. Or, like, there's times where somebody will say something really shitty to someone else, and he's like, I heard someone laugh. I didn't see Stebbins laugh, but I'm pretty sure it was Stebbins.
We also meet him in a tree.
Yeah, in his purple pants in a tree.
Everyone is, like, sitting and relaxing before the walk starts, conserving their energy. And Stebbins is eating a sandwich in a tree, wearing purple pants like the Hulk. How can you not like that guy?
Yeah.
Personally, I like McFreeze. McFreeze is kind of becomes Garrity's confidant, like his number two on the walk.
Yeah.
They have camaraderie, and McFreeze has this he pushes everyone, oddly. There's a time when what's the one guy? Olsen, who's this tough dude. He's really confident at the start. He starts flagging, and McFreeze says, hey, what are you gonna just give up and die? Fuck you. Pick him up. Yeah. Let's go. Which I think is a super fascinating trait for someone in a walk where everyone but one person is going to die.
I was going to say that McFreeze was my favorite. You guys kind of already covered everything I could say about him. I guess I'll just add, I think that not in a negative way, but I feel like his helping everyone and being that source of inspiration and motivation is part of his plan. Because he's developing relationships with these boys who, they're all, it's like me or them. So if he endears himself to them, that might serve him in the future.
That is true.
I don't think he's doing it to be selfish. I think that's kind of who he is, just a friendly, helpful person. But that's going to help him. After the boys have been walking for a mile, the major comes around in his Jeep to tell him that they've made it 1 mile. And this is the crazy part. He also tells him that the longest 100 walkers have made it is 7 3/4 mile. At 4 miles per hour, that's like an hour and a half, or like an hour and 45 minutes. In that time, in an hour 45 minutes, someone usually gets a ticket.
That seems crazy.
I think of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess maybe some just crack.
Well, they tell the story about the one guy who got his ticket punched, like, within sight of the starting line.
Yeah, he just
froze.
Mm-hmm. Garrity also tells the story of the first walk that he ever saw.
This is insane to me, because he tells a story of the one time as a kid his dad took him to see a long walk. It's terrible. Like, by the time they got to where Garrity was, they were all like zombies, just like walking, staring at the road. It was as if the crowds weren't even there.
And there's one who every time he put his foot down, he would scream, I can't, but he kept walking.
I don't know why you would sign up for that after you've seen this.
That's insane. That is the craziest thing. That is like if American Idol, like after someone sang real bad, they stabbed them. And then it was still the most popular show in the world.
And people still signed up and still went for it. This is probably jumping ahead a bit, but they talk about the prize. No idea what the prize is yet. They just say that there's a prize, but there's also cash. So that means the prize isn't cash. There's cash and a prize. But they've never said what the prize is. So it must be something worth all this.
Yeah, worth your life.
Yeah.
All right, so at the end of chapter 1, Garrity gets his first warning. We don't have to talk about this in detail, but you can if you want to. Garrity has a girlfriend, mind you.
That was the note I made. He runs off because there's a girl with a sign that says go Garrity, and he just runs over and grabs her and starts making out with her and gets a warning and then runs back. And my note was, wait, he's mentioned a girlfriend, right? What the fuck?
Jan, her name is Jan.
Her name's Jan. But he's also he's 16 and in a march to death.
And he might die.
So I cut him a little slack for smooching a lady.
So after that exchange, he comes back all jazzed up and he's kind of walking brisk, and McRees reminds him of hint 6, slow and easy does it, which leads to an interesting exchange between the two, which goes back to what we were talking about. Because Garrity thanks him and McRees is like, sure, but don't thank me too much. I'm here to win too. Let's not get all 3 musketeers. I like you, but if you fall, I'm not going to pick you up.
I love that line.
Or will he? All right, so I had commented earlier that the boys seem fully aware of what's at stake. As far as you can be having a teenage brain. I thought that for this reason, Harkness was very interesting.
Harkness is the one that's getting their names. He's writing down all the stuff because he's going to write a book.
Yes.
He's going to write a book when all this is over and he's won. And the second they introduce him, I was like, nah, bro, you're not winning. I'm sorry. I liked the idea, though. I thought that that was a neat character trait to give somebody. It also prompts asking questions, and it prompts getting some backstories from some people. It makes him somebody who will jump on a conversation. So I thought it was an interesting character choice.
Something I found interesting about that is thinking, if this guy did win, would that book be allowed to exist?
I guess
No.
it depends on, yeah.
Yeah,
well,
I think so.
There's published material about the walk because those hints have come from other walkers. So I guess
Yes.
it depends on the tone of the book.
Are those
Exactly. It would have to be severely edited, because I spent most of this book thinking about the world that it takes place in, because we get very little information about the world at large. We're just kind of given clues. But I find it fascinating. What must the society be like that the Long Walk exists? I mean, what even purpose does it serve?
That's what I want to know. I have so many questions.
I would say, without giving anything away, because I've read it, at this point...
It's been a real long time.
I know. But I think what comes to mind when you're diving into this for the first time is control. You're eliminating people, but you're making them beg for it in a way. They are eager and excited and willing to do it.
Yeah, that's why I imagine, because they don't come right out and say what the prize is. My initial thought was it must be like a wish. You must just get to ask for anything you want, because that's the only thing I can think of that would make any of this worth what you would be willing to put yourself on the line. And it's a big enough reward that when society sees this year's winner get whatever crazy thing their heart's desire, then it makes it worth it. I think McVrees, I think it might be around here that he mentions something, or it might be a little later. Everybody has their reasons for walking, and I don't even have a sick parent or anything.
It's interesting that he has that response and he can be casual about it, because why teenage boys? Is an adult male, the fully developed brain, going to be casual about it? Are they even going to sign up for it? So I think that's important too, why it's that age cutoff. You can't be over the age of 18, I believe, to participate in the walk.
Yeah, I guess that's one thing I was trying to pay attention to, and I couldn't really get a lockdown on what the age range of participants is. I think they mentioned an 18, and Garrity's 16, and I think he mentioned a 14-year-old.
All right, so they're walking, and they're kind of spread out. There's a group ahead of... What?
I'm sorry. So much of this book can get back to by going, and so they're walking.
So they're walking.
Oh, no, almost every... You guys are going to catch the pattern. Okay. The boys are walking.
Yep.
And they're kind of spread out, and there's a group up ahead of them, kind of out of sight. And then there's our group of all the characters we're getting familiar with and starting to like. And I'm sure nothing terrible is going to happen to any of them.
None.
And then there's boys straggling behind them. And what's happening is kind of like that game Telephone. So information is coming back through the walkers. There's a rain forecast. Someone got 3 warnings. Someone's hurt. Kind of things like that. And they get the word that Curly has a Charlie horse. I've never tried to walk forever. So when I started reading, sure, I thought of like blisters and being tired and how do you go to the bathroom, but I did not think of Charlie horses.
There's a part where Garrity even thinks he's like, of all of the things that could go wrong, like developing a blister.
Yeah, you could be way physically fit and get a cramp or
roll your ankle, misstepping.
Yeah.
Get diarrhea on the walk like someone in this book does, then too bad.
Yeah.
Here's your ticket, man.
It's a lottery, basically. Like there's it's a complete crapshoot. What could happen to you? Plenty of things could go wrong that would just take you out of it, lose focus for a second, which also like that makes it not just physically exhausting, but it's also mentally exhausting because you're trying to like pay attention to all of these things.
And so Curly's the first one to die.
So he gets this Charlie horse and he's screaming, trying to rub it out, and like he's getting warning after warning because it's 30 seconds between each warning. So imagine like you are panicking for a solid minute and a half, going nuts trying to like rub this cramp out. Finally says that it's loosening, and he gets back walking, and it is very soon after that he ends up getting his ticket punched, and he screams because the cramp loosened, but now it's back full force. And Garrity just hears the safety on all the carbine rifles click off. And as soon as everyone hears that sound, the crowd just parts away from this kid. And then Curly shouting, "It isn't fair," and 4 rifles just blow his head clean off. I thought that was a great, like, starting off with like a hyper violent sort of kill is the only way to go in a scenario like this. If it had just been he falls and one guy goes over and shoots him in the head, that's not building up to anything crazy. But like 4 rifles exploding his head, I was like, holy shit. All right.
That is insane. I disagree. Any bullets in the head is going to make me go, oh shit.
Fair point. That is a fair point.
Yeah, so that kind of jarred me. And it jarred Garrity too, because he watches this and he feels sick. And he thinks the things that this is something I think all humans are afraid of. The reason that we created religion and stuff like that. He thinks that death probably hurt Curly. And then like what hurt most was that the world just goes on.
Yeah, it's a real sad bummer.
Yeah.
But also I laughed immediately after because he's having all this like existential crisis after the first death, and Stebbins just casually steps over the body.
Steps in the blood, doesn't he? And then he has like
Stebbins. I take it back. Stebbins is the best character.
Okay, so the boys continue to walk. And they talk about what they do with the prize. And, we got McRees and saying, I don't even know what I do with it. I don't know why I'm here, which was very disturbing. The major shows up again. He announces over a loudspeaker how proud of them he is. Someone behind Garrity says diddly shit. And he looks behind him and there's only a few boys, including Stebbins, who appears just to not be paying attention to anything. And things like this keep happening with Stebbins throughout. Garrity has like this kind of hyper focus on him just for seemingly no reason. So that's interesting, and we'll get back to it eventually.
Yeah, and he starts off, like, before the walk starts, he notices Stebbins in the tree, and he gets it in his mind that kid doesn't stand a chance. That kid's going to be the first to go. And throughout the book, he kind of goes back and forth on that, where he alternately is like, no, that kid... I think he's got a chance.
Or he's relieved when he doesn't get, he thinks Stebbins gets a warning, but it's not. It's really weird.
And sometimes he's like, oh, he should have died. He should have died instead of, but he's constantly thinking about
He's in the back of his head the whole time. So the boys continue to walk, And word eventually comes back that Ewing has developed blisters. Blisters that he got 2 miles into the walk, which was about, I think at this point, 8 miles ago or about there. Oof. So he's walking in pus, and he's been warned twice. And 10 minutes later, Ewing gets his ticket. And he put up a small fight. But so that is how Chapter 2, Part 1 ends.
Oof. I think it's around that point we learn what a piece of shit Barkovich is.
Yeah, I wrote the note, Barkovich is a racist. Also, lovely.
Yeah, he's a real shitheel. And they keep describing he's this like tiny little dude. And he's described as, or McFreeze says that what keeps him walking is hate.
Oh, yeah.
Barkovich is walking. He says, I'm going to dance on a lot of graves after this is done. McFreeze is walking just outlast Barkovich.
Mm-hmm. So chapter 3 opens with a huge thunderstorm, and it's coming down so hard that Garrity can't see anyone else around him. And he kind of has this thought for a moment, if, someone could just slip away in all of this when no one can see anything. And the rain lets up, and he sees Stebbins behind him, hunched over. And he has this moment of panic because he thinks that Stebbins is sick. And, he had just gone from hating him to, oh my God, is he sick? Is he okay? And then he realizes he's just protecting his jelly sandwiches.
Yeah.
Which now makes Stebbins my favorite character. And this is where Olsen starts to say that his legs feel funny. And all of a sudden, another gun goes off. Another boy has received his tickets. They don't know who, but they find out through the grapevine that he didn't die because he had cramps. He didn't die because he had blisters. He just slowed down too many times and got his ticket.
It had to happen to someone sooner or later. And that's just, of all the ways to go, that's the worst one.
That would be the worst because you wouldn't know it. You like, if you have a cramp, well, would that be worse or not? Because, okay, say you have a cramp, you're panicking.
Sure.
Like,
you're getting those
take
warnings.
Olsen, for example, his legs are feeling, he says the muscles feel slack or something like that.
Yeah, like they feel saggy.
Yeah, saggy is the word he uses. And so he's like panicking, knowing that his body is giving out. Well, this random nameless person, which also, that's the most tragic thing in the book, is that there are so many of these boys that get shot down, and we never know their names.
Yeah.
They're just numbers. If you just slow down, you're just like, I'm doing pretty good. Oops. Like, you wouldn't, they don't say, okay, we're going to shoot you now.
Right. You would just hear the click of the rifle.
Yeah.
Like you'd hear the safeties lock off.
I wonder who's going to get shot. And then you're gone.
And then you're just gone.
I think that would be better.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking
bliss.
about it.
All right, 25 miles out, does Garrity see a ghost?
What now?
What?
They walk.
Are we introducing just our own opinions?
Okay,
this is the fanfic chapter.
My favorite part is
Sam wrote this.
the post-it note in which I wrote, the major is a Bigfoot. I put that just in the middle of the book as a little treat for myself. What are you talking about?
Okay. They're walking through some town, I can't remember which, and there's this woman, and it's this old lady frozen, like she's just standing perfectly still beneath a black umbrella. She's dressed all in black. She's not speaking, she's not smiling, waving. There's no sign that she's holding. There's no sign of movement from her. And that's just it. But he stops to describe her. Maybe it's because we just read Revival. And I've got like this weird, that's where my brain is. But I think she's a ghost.
She struck me as somebody at a funeral. That's
way more deep.
That was the message that I got from the way she was standing. So it was mournful. Like if we were to go full Stephen King and do a full chapter on this character that we walked past, that's what I imagined. Like maybe her story is that somebody she loved was in the long walk, or maybe she just is enough anti this dystopian world that she recognizes the tragedy that she's seeing where everybody else sees a celebration.
She's at all of their funerals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She made me think of Garrity's dad, because Garrity's dad only took him once, but his dad was some sort of, you get the sense he was like a revolutionary, essentially.
Yeah.
He was
Because
anti-government.
he tells a story at one point about remembering his dad being on the phone after the long walk, screaming, yelling about how terrible it is, and his mom saying, shh, like trying to quiet him and say, you can't say that. And then his dad gets disappeared by the squads, which have not been described yet, but don't really need to be.
Yeah. Yep.
When there are squads, you kind of know what their deal is. So I kind of got the feeling that she was like,
protesting?
not necessarily a revolutionary, but just like, she knows what's up.
Yeah.
The boys continue to walk, and Garrity he dozes while he's walking. And he and McRees talk about death and life flashing before your eyes. And the word comes back that someone fell and is bleeding. We find out that it's a boy named Zuck, and he's bleeding a lot. And he seems to lose consciousness and slow down, but he's still walking. He gets his third warning, and that's when he takes off running.
He's bleeding so much that it's leaving a trail on the pavement.
It's panic. It's just full-blown panic. And he knows it's very obvious he needs stitches, and there's no way you can stop and get stitches. So he's done. Like, I think he knows with the amount he's bleeding, he's just done. And that sprint is just all the energy he's ever going to have left. Like, full fight or flight kicks in, and he chose flight.
And it's such a despairing image of this kid just taking off past the next hill. Like, he goes out of sight. And the soldiers who have been following them in this big...
The half track?
Yeah, half track. That's the word. One of them hops off to stay with him, and then the half track just chases him down. Like, doesn't even chase him down, just... doesn't need to. It just slowly follows him. His fate's inescapable. Whatever.
And what's more tragic is that Zuck gets his ticket, and he's gone over that rise because he took off. And by the time Garrity's group gets there, his body's gone. So it's like he was never even there. He doesn't matter anymore.
Don't they want everybody to see that?
No, they don't, though, because I think that's pushing it too far, because people are lined up watching too sometimes.
Yeah. All right.
So you don't want people to get too upset about these boys dying.
So it's
you want it to be entertaining, but not...
So getting the body out of there is like just wiping it from their memory as soon as possible. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
If they just take it out and act respectful, then the boys that die are heroes and martyrs.
The boys continue to walk. They continue to talk about death, and it's like we're watching them grow up before their time, and we're watching them lose their childhood mile after mile. And a fifth boy gets his ticket, Travin, because he has diarrhea, and instead of just letting it fly, he keeps slowing down to relieve himself. And at this point, Garrity's legs have been hurting, and now he's aware that his feet hurt. And Olsen is not looking good.
There was one thing that in this conversation, because this is where the part of the book where they talk about the prize and that there's cash and there's a prize, but Garrity says he's not interested in the money. So I'm curious what he's interested in, because he's not really said as much.
In my thinking about the society of this book, like, it is probably a pretty fucking bleak place, right?
Yeah.
I think that where he's saying, you know what, I don't care about the money, because whether, I could win all this money and live in a mansion for the rest of my life, what the fuck does it matter if I get hit by a truck the next day? Like, we still die the same. I think it's just a symptom of this society where, their lives aren't really valued.
Do you think that's why the attendance for the long walk is so high? Like, the people, the cheering spectators? It's so bleak that this morbid thing is the only thing they have to cheer and look forward to.
Yeah.
Possible.
I could see that.
It doesn't sound like a great
wow.
place to live.
This world got much darker.
This book is dark as hell, guys.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't remember a lot of like the second 2/3 of this book. I was surprised how little I remembered, but the end, I do remember. And it's not a happy-go-lucky kind of
I'm holding out hope. It's fine.
No.
Hold on, hope, Josh.
Yeah, thanks.
Chapter 4, the boys continue to walk, and one walker, Percy, watches as the soldiers drag his mother away. She keeps showing up. She's screaming for him, "Come home now." And that's horrible and sad. And another walker, Fenter, gets his ticket from a stiff foot. So I think we're at 6 tickets now. And Garrity it took 6 tickets, and now he feels numb to it. And they continue to walk. They talk about love and sex. And Garrity thinks of his mother and his girlfriend, Jan, which made me feel kind of weird after that conversation. Garrity falls asleep and gets a warning. McReese wakes him up, and Garrity thinks about memories and how they're like a line drawn in the dirt. And the further back you go, the scuffier and harder to see that line is, until finally there's nothing but smooth sand and the black hole of nothingness that you came out of. And the memories were like the road they were on. Here it was real, hard, and tangible, but that 9 a.m. road where they started, that was far back and meaningless. And this is the kind of conversation that we're getting with them as they're walking. And it makes this story that literally takes place while a bunch of people are walking 4 miles per hour. Just so interesting and fun to read.
It's beautifully written. And I love that that little excerpt that you just read, because already the road, time is stretching so long that just the beginning of the walk, only a few hours ago, how long into the walk are we right now?
50 miles.
50 miles into the walk. The beginning of the walk feels dreamlike and unreal. And I think it's not long after this that the boys start asking Garrity, "Hey, what's coming up next? There's a town coming."
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, in a few miles we'll get to this town. What's after that? You're from Maine. Tell us And he says, "Oh, well, after that there's eventually we'll get to Bangor. Eventually we'll get to the Freeport, where his mother and girlfriend are. And then eventually we'll get to the freeway. And it'll be flat walking." And they say, "Well, how far away is that?" And he says, about 120 miles.
Oh, God.
And that is there's quiet. That is such an amazing bit of writing, because he spends all this time saying, "Oh my God, it's been so long. It's already hellish, this walking, but there's so much more, almost more than you can imagine."
So we're about 50 miles in, and the boys come to a huge hill. And they're just looking at the ground in front of them, trying not to look up at the hill. And word comes back that the hill is a 1/4 mile long. Then it's 2 miles long. And then no walker ever got a ticket on the hill. And then 3 boys got tickets on it. So there's all this information coming down that's probably not making them feel better about walking up. And Garrity realizes that he can't slow down, because if he does, that'll be his 3rd warning. And as we know, there's no warning after your 3rd. There's just a ticket. A boy, Larson, slows down, and he says he's just going to rest for a while. He gets a ticket. And then shortly after that, another boy gets a ticket. They don't know who. And the hill goes on, and another boy, Toland, faints, and after 3 warnings given to his unconscious body, he gets a ticket. There are 91 walkers left. All right, so they finally make it over this hill, and they're all glad to be alive, and this gives them this sense of hope, I think, because they start talking about the end of the walk and how, who's seen the end of the walk? Has anybody ever seen it? And this was fascinating. This is where we find out more about Stebbins. So he finally speaks up. And let's talk about what he has to say about seeing the end of the long walk.
He says that this was 4 years ago where he got to see the end of the long walk. Over 20 people were trampled to death just trying to follow along with the last walkers. That's how aggressive and chaotic and violent the end, just for the spectators, got. And he describes that the winner, he describes the feat of the winner, because it was his dad, I think, set him, he was like, "Be right here." And it turns out the walk the guy almost came right down in front of him. Like his dad just knew.
And his dad got him that awesome spot because his dad's part of the squads.
Yeah, got him that sweet spot.
Sweet spot.
And the winner, he had no shoes. He'd walked the bottom of his socks away completely. His feet were purple because the blood vessels had all been broken. And it was this guy and then a blonde kid. And the kid fell. They gave him his 30 seconds because both of those two were walking on their third warning, and punched the last ticket. And the winner crawled over to the dead body and was crying on it, gripping the body by the shirt and just talking to it. And he couldn't tell what he was saying, but he was just crying and talking into this other boy. And that's all he remembers.
And he's here.
Yeah.
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 And we're still very early in the book, but I cannot wait to find out what in the world motivates Stebbins.
Yeah, I can't. The only thing I can even think of is that it's almost a shot at his dad. Like that it's a shot at his family. Like if his dad's part of the squads and put him there and was like, boy, you're going to love this. And he's like, the fuck I am.
Yeah.
That I can't even imagine. It just made me like Stebbins so much more too.
That is actually interesting. I'd never thought of it as like a fuck you to his dad. I said that, no one in this walk is probably, upper class. But as a family member of the squad, someone whose family knows what's going on, who is well aware of the violence and everything perpetrated against enemies of the state, you would assume. What it must be like to be like, oh, Dad, you're so pro-government. You are in support of everything that's happening. Oh, well, I'm going to go walking the long walk. How about that?
Yeah.
What that must be like to be like, well, you shouldn't do that. Oh, well, maybe you shouldn't disappear people.
Mm-hmm. Chapter 5 opens with 2 more boys having received their tickets. Garrity's feeling a little crazy and his legs are tired and his muscles ache. And another boy named Baker, not our Baker that we met earlier, but just some other Baker, gets his ticket. 2 interesting things happen in this chapter. The first with the bridge.
Word comes down the line that the thunderstorm that had happened earlier had washed out a bridge that they are supposed to cross, and that the walk is going to have to stop.
Imagine that feeling, that hope, that everything's so tired at this point. You've seen like 8 or 9 people die, and you're going to get a break, which is unheard of in the walk. But this is important, and these guys know what they're doing, so the bridge is repaired, and this ends up leading to Barkovich and Rank getting into a fight. And as a result of this fight, Rank gets his ticket.
That was crazy. We established that there's no physical violence allowed between the walkers.
Can't
and
interfere
Barkovich
with anyone
just
else.
goads this kid into taking swings on him and just deftly moving out of the way. And it ends with the fight ends because this kid falls over and just can't get back up. And he yells at Barkovich, like, "Are you happy now? You've killed me. You're a murderer." Right before he gets shot. And I was like, yeah, you murdered that guy. You didn't pull the trigger, but you straight up murdered this person.
Yeah. McFreeze, I believe, is the one that says, congratulations, you're no longer a pest, you're a murderer.
Yeah.
And the thing that made me so happy is that Barkovich is shown no support by any of the other walkers. Yeah. Like there isn't like a group of other ones who are like, haha, yeah, it's like not divided.
Yeah,
it is.
They scatter from him.
Yeah. He brags and everyone shuts him out and just moves away because everyone is disgusted by this. And that made me so happy.
So 2 more boys get their tickets in this chapter. And chapter 5 ends with a heartbreaking scene. Another boy falls back by our group and he's on his last warning and he looks completely withdrawn, like he is given up, he is gone. And Garrity starts asking him over and over, "What's your name? What's your name? Tell me your name." And McFreeze says, "Don't bother him. He's dying. Don't bother him." And the boy gets his ticket. And we end chapter 5 with a total of 17 walkers dead.
only 17. There's still 83 walkers left, and it feels like they've been walking forever.
And they're tired.
They haven't even gone 24 hours yet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, we're not at a full day.
We're not at a full
yet.
day.
Right.
They are coming up on midnight. It's not even a day.
And they have said that the long walk has in the past gone all the way through Maine. Like, I think they've gotten to Massachusetts once and into New Hampshire one time. Mm-hmm. That is, imagining that in a real life situation is unthinkable.
And I hate to say at least, but they get water and rations from the soldiers. So if they empty their canteen, they just say canteen and they get a fresh one. But I mean, imagine if they had to have their own supplies and stuff with them and have that weight on their backs as they walk for however long I might need rations.
And they only get the rations once every 24 hours.
Well, they get water whenever they need it.
Yeah,
but
they get
food,
water, but food. And it's like in the second chapter, Olsen drops his belt with all his food on it, and it's just gone. You can't go back for it. Yeah. That was a mistake that cost him his food for 24 hours.
And Garrity gives him his cheese.
Yeah.
Garrity is walking and semi-dozing and imagining getting his ticket, and he comes to pretty disoriented. And he's not around his group of walkers, and he has this moment of panic because he doesn't recognize anyone. I wanted to point this out because this shows us the duality of the relationship that's going on among the walkers. On one hand, you don't want to get too close to anyone because you're basically waiting for everyone around you to die. And on the other hand, they're also keeping each other going, sometimes quite literally. And the nature of the event they're participating in is otherwise so lonely and tragic that they become a source of inspiration and hope to one another. They can't escape the fact that they're out walking each other.
The friendship that specifically Garrity and McFreeze have, I think, is one of the most fascinating parts of the book. I think Stebbins has it right. Stebbins, of course, is the weird purple pants tree kid.
Oh, purple pants and blue chambray shirt. I think we failed to mention.
We really did. He is walking at the back of the pack alone. I think that's the better strategy, don't you?
I can imagine it's very hard to not form bonds with people. Like, I know for me, I'm a talker. I talk to strangers all the time. It's just like, that's naturally what I would do is engage with other people. But knowing that getting close to those people would mean losing somebody you know, that's a lot. That's a lot of extra mental weight to carry on you.
I think it would be impossible for me not to form relationships with people because if I was helping someone along, even if they weren't helping me, like that would sort of give me focus and purpose, I think. It would keep me going to try to keep other people going.
That's an interesting point and something that I want to talk about later once we get to it. The what keeps them walking.
Okay. Well,
it's a recurring thing where Garrity is like, I don't know why I'm walking. Why am I doing this? I don't know why I signed up.
Right, and we find out I'm trying to remember when it is that they could back out.
In the first chapter, he says, his mom's like, oh, you can back out. And he's like, nah, the deadline was yesterday.
Right, yeah, like, so not only are they committed to this, but they had all the time in the world to end it, to back out.
I think they had like April 15th or something. Mm-hmm. There was some deadline too.
Mm-hmm. There was like a first dropout date, and then there was there was the second dropout date. But the fact that 100 people, which also means that more than 100 people would have had to apply because they have to have people for when they drop out, I guess. But
yeah, they have to have backups.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I remember saying last episode that the boys have gone into this with their eyes open. They all know what's at stake and they know what they're getting into because that's kind of how they come into it. They do seem knowledgeable and aware, but they're really, like McFreeze was talking before, I imagined that the first gun would go off and a little flag would come out of the end, not a bullet. They don't really know what they're getting into because they're teenagers, and to them, they can't die. They're invincible. They are the stars of their own show.
I know I was indestructible when I was 16.
Another boy gets his ticket, and Garrity gets a warning and realizes that this time yesterday, he was asleep in the back of a truck on his way to the walk. He was sprawled out on his back. He wasn't moving. He was laying down, and I felt his yearning and his pain in that moment. Have you ever been like working out or just walking and you want to get there and you're like, oh, remember earlier when I was in bed?
Every single day. Every goddamn day. And that kept occurring to me while reading this there's a few times where people just keep saying, one of them just says, you know what I want to do? I want to just walk out into a field and just lay down on my back and stare up at the stars.
Yeah, they're all engaging in this mental self-torture.
I felt that, though. Like, I would rather, if I was going to be the winner, I'd rather go out right away because I wouldn't want to put myself through this. So at that point, when you are so far in, you're a day in, and only 25 people out of the 100 have gone, I can imagine how sweet the idea of just laying down and letting it happen is.
I would really love a table or a chart of all the other walks, because I kept thinking, so like, not that I want a lot of these boys to die, but for our main character's sake, I'm like, okay, they need to start dying now. And 25 is so few in that moment, because they're already exhausted and they clearly have so much further to go. I'm curious if their group, because it seems like their group is breaking all these records.
Yeah.
It's like, man, what a unfortunate.
Yeah, the word
to be a part of the record-breaking year.
Yeah, the word comes back that they will definitely pass the Maine state line, and that's like 2 days. Like at the rate they're walking, that's gonna be another 2 days of walking, and they're all already practically zombies.
Yeah, I don't know what I would do knowing that amount of time was stretched out in front of me.
Fuck, I'm tired. Just
you have to walk for at minimum 2 more days. Nah, I'm done. And just laying down.
So that comes back to the relationship piece again. Like, are their relationships the thing that's keeping them going in those moments?
For some of them, yeah, but I mean, the fact that Stebbins is still there proves that it's not necessary. It's important to the characters it's important to, because those are the kind of people they are. I think that's the important characterization of these people. You found the characters that need other people, and you find the characters that don't need other people.
It's interesting because you said Stebbins doesn't need that, and it makes me wonder what is motivating him that we don't know about yet that is so powerful that he doesn't need that.
I am very anxious to find out. I cannot wait to finish this book.
Yeah, Garrity watches the sunrise and another boy gets his ticket. And we find out that over $2 billion gets bet on the long walk every year. What did you guys think of that?
I think it goes back to support the hypothesis I made last episode that this dystopian future no longer has things like the Super Bowl or the World Series. Like this is the sport. This is the thing. This is the entertainment for the year. I mean, I don't know how much is bet on major sporting events currently, but billions seems like a lot to go into betting on 100 boys walking.
This is the part that finally made me get that. It made me understand what this world looks like. It's so normal. And even, I think it was McVree's and some of the boys are talking about how when they were in high school, they would place bets on the walkers. So this is a part of their society that they've grown up in, thinking that this is just part of life and it's what you do. And so it makes it seem a little more plausible that any of them would even sign up for this in the first place.
I mean, if they're betting $2 billion, they're all celebrities, right? I mean, we see that with Garrity. He's main zone. There are people lined up on the side of the road screaming his name. Could that play into it?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, for some, that might be enough. That might be the only type of attention like that they're ever going to get. It reminds me of suicide, when you're contemplating suicide because you just want that moment to end and you're not thinking about how the next moment after that might be better is never going to come because you've ended everything.
Yeah, and that's a really apt description because McFree says later on this is suicide. Just takes longer, which is brutal.
Very brutal.
There's one thing I want to discuss is you mentioned that this is the end of the first night. I thought this section, the night, was really scary.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So this whole first chapter, it's night has fallen and it's dark and it is claustrophobic and you feel the loneliness close in. And Garrity is terrified of once the sun comes up. He says he looks back at the night with actual horror that he actually had to make it through that. And it's the first night. Did you guys get that feeling of this is gonna happen again?
Well, I do now. Now I feel really ominous about it.
Yeah.
It reminded me, we've talked before in different episodes about that, quote, Stephen King moment where, for example, in room 1408, he can make describing the way a door looks terrify you. And this, in his description of the night, that was when I was like, yeah, this feels like that Stephen King moment. As close as we're going to get to it in this book, because this is not your like Stephen King horror book.
Yeah, it's a Bachman moment.
Mm-hmm.
The sensation of walking out of the night.
Yeah.
Because it's all behind him.
In my mind, I pictured him literally I pictured it a transition like that. Like,
yeah,
right back here, it's night, and now it's day.
That's kind of how I felt that he was seeing it, is that it was almost like there was no dim light of dawn, that on one side of he crossed a threshold and in his mind, it is daylight here, and back there is the pitch black nighttime terror that I just walked through.
Okay, so they're about 80 miles now, and McVree's cracks, and Garrity makes a decision, and I want to talk about that decision because he's already got a warning.
Yeah, McVree's snaps and sets off to charge the half track, basically, and it looks like I had that moment of like, oh, this is it for McVree's, because you can't just charge these soldiers and nothing happened, and he just spits on the soldiers, and they're just standing there issuing him his warnings as he's shouting things at them and cursing them and spitting at them, and he gets his third warning, and while Garrity could have just kept going, and I think Garrity has a warning at this point. Yeah. He gets a second warning because he runs back to McVree's and like grabs him and pulls him away and pulls him forward. He saved his life.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down. McVree's would have gotten his ticket. He would not have pulled himself away. There's no way.
And McVree's is not grateful, like you might imagine he would be. And he tells Garrity that there are no winners. They are all losers. In fact, the last guy, the guy to win, they take him out back and shoot him. And it's just like he has hit his bleak moment.
McVree's, as we find out a little bit later, his whole worldview is not just that this is like suicide. They are all actively committing suicide. He says, why are we all doing this? You haven't figured it out, Garrity? We all want to die. That's why. Mm-hmm. Why else would we be doing this? And I can't argue with that.
That's a fair point.
So yeah, he gets saved by Garrity, and he's like, what the fuck, man? Like, why would you do that? I was done. And now he's back in it. Mm-hmm. And
the Major's coming around again soon. And I thought this part was interesting because Stebbins has something neat to say about this arrival and how the boys are going to react to seeing the Major.
Yeah, is this the first real conversation that Garrity has with Stebbins? He falls back because he is fascinated with this kid, and Stebbins just knows. Stebbins is like, check it out, there's more soldiers coming. You know what that means? It means the Major's coming, which is some really interesting insight that he has, which I guess might have something to do with the fact that his dad was in the squads, right?
Right.
Probably, yeah.
So he says, yeah, the major's coming. And Garrity's like, yeah, well, good. Fuck that guy. And he's like, no, man, everyone's going to cheer him. Like, they don't hate the major yet. They think they do. And in fact, when the major does show up, literally just drives by waving and then leaves, Garrity cheers.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
That is insane.
He feels a shiver of pride just looking at the guy who is essentially murdering them.
Yeah, because it's so ingrained in them. And even as their feet are hurting and they're dying and they're watching others die, and they know that it's likely they'll die too, that's still so a part of them that they can't deny it.
They're probably also desperate for something to cheer for.
Yeah, something positive.
It's like, even though when he's not there, people are telling jokes about like the major, like banging the major's grandma.
Yeah.
And like they're just really stupid knock jokes about that. Always the punchline is something about either like banging the major's mom or dog or whatever the case may be. But it shows that fall from being an icon to their villain a little bit. And then this cheering section comes around and I was like, guys, where's all that hate that you guys had earlier? Like, come on, let him know about it.
All right. A few hours later, a boy named Yannick gets his ticket. And everybody's starting to get cranky at this point. I mean, like, more cranky.
That is an understatement.
The biggest understatement.
The boys are displeased with the situation at hand.
Oh, boy,
I mean, things are just really coming to a head. Garrity and a boy named Parker have a little spat. Oh, okay, I need your help. What is a big drugstore cowboy Saturday night tough guy leather jacket hero? That's what Garrity calls Parker.
That's
Parker.
Pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah.
He's the Fonz. He's one of the T-Birds.
Chapter 7, we meet Scram. Let's talk about Scram.
Scram, instantly my favorite character in this middle section, which is insane. It's another one of those like king characters that comes out of nowhere. And I'm like, this fucking dude's great. He's fucking stupid.
He almost seems like a character in a different book.
Yeah.
Because he's just instantly the most likable dude. He's just so affable and easygoing.
And the only one who, maybe not like mentally, because we find out he has a wife and a baby on the way, but at least physically the smartest one of the group of all these 100 boys, because he's walked 80 miles nonstop. Like, he is prepared. He is ready. He knows that his feet, his legs, his mind can handle it.
Yeah, we find out, we start by hearing that Scram is married. Garrity is blown away that this guy is married. He's like, yep, dropped out of high school, married my sweetheart. She finished school, and she got pregnant, and we're doing it. And when I win, maybe we'll move to Maine. And Garrity,
oh God, I don't like that.
Blown away that someone would join the walk in this situation, and I agree.
For as dumb as he is, I guess as simple-minded, but maybe street-smart in a way, he makes a pretty fair assessment of some of the other boys, including Garrity.
His philosophy is simple, that he's the odds-on favorite in Vegas. He mentions that he knows he's the odds-on favorite, and that the reason that he knows he's going to win is because he's motivated. He knows his motivation. He knows what he's here for, and that the other people either don't know or their motives aren't enough. And that is objectively likely not true. But to him, that simple philosophy of, it boils down to I want it more. and so I'll get it.
And this might lead into what I referenced earlier is what keeps these guys walking. And I want to know what you guys think about this, because the book seems to be setting up that the prevailing philosophy is Stebbins. Stebbins' philosophy is what keeps you walking has to be internal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it kind of goes with, because Scram's, kind of talking about why he thinks each of the boys are here. He's assessing their motivation, and Gary's like, "Who do me next? Do me." And he's like, I mean, maybe he wasn't that excited, but Scram reluctantly says, "Okay," and he's like, "You don't know why you're here. You don't know what's motivating you, but right now fear is motivating you, and that's not enough. It can't be this. It has to be like this special combination of things, and it seems like none of our characters that we have this insight into understand or know what that thing is or possess it yet.
Except for maybe Olsen?
See, I think we'll talk more about Olsen.
Yeah,
but
we might get to that
he's
later.
withdrawn in him. I think his withdraw is his plan. Everybody says, "Oh, I got a plan. I'm getting these 3 warnings now because I got a plan. I got this first warning right off the bat because I got a plan." I think Olsen is, I don't know if that was his intended plan, but I think that's his defense mechanism. He's shutting out the pain. He's shutting out the other people. He's shutting out taking care of himself, unfortunately, but he's just one foot in front of the other, like a zombie, like you said. So the boys are talking about death and not wanting to die, even though they're not sure why they're there or what's going to keep them from dying. And a boy up ahead has a seizure. Let's talk about Gribble getting his ticket.
All right, going into this moment, I was like, I will bet anything CM tries to just gloss over Gribble and does not want to talk about it.
No, I specifically have a note on it because it makes me so sick. No, okay, let's describe what he does.
What
to
happens?
his ticket. Yeah.
The boiled down version of what happens is that Gribble, there's spectators, and there's a female kind of splayed out, like wanting him to come over. So he runs over, takes all 3 of his warnings to like make out with a girl who is 100% wanting to bone.
Yeah.
Super like she's got like her legs like locked
dry
around
humping.
him. They're dry humping. Yeah. And like when he goes to pull away, she almost like doesn't let go. And he like breaks free and runs back. And he's like super proud of himself. And then he gets a cramp in his crotch. And
that right there is a... no, I can't do it.
And it just drops to his knees and catches a bullet, like pretty much right afterwards. Like,
so the reason that this upset me,
go on.
It's a combination of the girl's behavior, because they just wanted a thrill, and what she did basically led to his death. And she doesn't care about that.
She's a real Barkovich.
Yeah, she got her thrill. She got to hump a walker, and she can tell that story for weeks or months probably, and
to her grandkids.
Be really popular. Yeah, to her grandkids. But this boy, all these boys, they're so desperate for even just a quick moment of physical comfort. They have all been reduced to their base survival instincts: food, water, reproduction. So he sees her ready and willing, and it's like he cannot help himself. And even Garrity, in thinking about this moment, this is a part that really got me.
Jesus Christ, yeah. I forgot about this until just now.
Garrity is reimagining her thighs like quivering when Gribble is grinding up against her, and he just watched Gribble like get his head blown off, and he has an orgasm while walking. Just the thought of that physical contact.
The note I made, I did not put any more detail in it. I just wrote about Gribble, and then I wrote, "Oh man," and I knew immediately that "oh man" was that moment.
I don't even know if I have anything to say about that.
We don't have to talk about it.
Insane that there's a part of this book where a guy dies with a boner, And then our main character creams his jeans about it. Is crazy.
And we can laugh about it, and it's awkward and it's disturbing, but it's also just, like I said, I mean, they're all pure instinct and nothing else.
Yeah, well, it's Garrity has turned Jan into something bigger than she is.
She's a totem at this point.
Yes. And so part of that is that projection is thinking about that girl and then bringing that into his own life, like how much he would want to have that moment with Jan and might have made the same decision. And I feel like biologically it's spot on. Nailed it. Like it's putting his attention somewhere else and
into his pants.
Well,
his pants.
I mean, I think of it this way. Your body's dying, basically. They're all in the process of dying, and the body's just making you do those, okay, we got to reproduce, we got to eat, we got to drink.
Yep.
All those things. All right.
Yeah.
So the boys keep walking. Harkness gets his ticket, and the circle is broken, and Scram starts to get a cold, and Olsen starts begging the soldiers to let him rest. 6 more miles, and they're going to make 100 miles. The largest group of walkers to make 100 miles is 63 walkers. And that's less than our group right now. So we have 69, so they're on their way to set another record.
Hooray.
Olsen begging those soldiers. Ooh. Understandable, but God, that's embarrassing for who that character started out as. Like, that is a very big, like, how the mighty have fallen character moment, because he started this so confident and kind of larger than life, and to see him reduced to begging just was rough.
Olsen started out as this supremely confident character, and then he became what we see before him. The same chapter that we are introduced to Scram, the extremely confident character who thinks he's going to win, who's positive of his ability to win. And already Scram has the cold. I am thinking ahead and imagining Scram being reduced to what Olsen is now.
Oh, I don't like that thought, because I like Scram.
Yeah.
It's what they all will become. I mean, if you walk long enough, you either die or how deep can you go?
Something is going to bring them down. Let's talk about what brings down Percy.
His hubris. Yeah. I was waiting for someone to do it. Percy, they all notice that Percy is kind of eyeballing the trees in the distance. And they can tell that he looks like he's going to make a break for it. And first of all, if the other walkers can tell that you're looking like you're going to make a break for it, I'm pretty sure the trained soldiers that's job is to watch you have noticed, but they don't appear to be keeping an eye on him. Even though as a reader, I don't know how you guys felt, I knew he wasn't fooling anybody.
Right.
There's no way.
Yeah, especially since everyone is like, hey, look. Hey, Percy's gonna run.
Yeah. And boy, howdy, does he go. He takes off, and they shoot him just one shot just as he reaches the edge of the wood. Bam, down.
Yeah. And he doesn't get warnings because that's breaking the rules.
Right.
He ran.
I loved this segment. It is just one of those brilliant pieces of writing that are throughout King's work. The way it's described, he, just as he steps over the line into the woods, he makes it one step and he is shot. And Garrity, the time slows down, and there's this 3-second window where Garrity sees this perfect tableau of Percy standing stock still, grabbing his chest as blood seeps through his fingers, juxtaposed with the the soldiers standing on the half track, all angular and like statuesque. And I just thought that was a really amazing moment that was almost beautiful.
Yeah, I felt that too. He describes a boy's death and it makes you feel something beautiful in it.
Yeah.
Something that's not, that's just harsh and sad.
And the first thing I thought of, though, was about Percy's mom.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
because she's been coming through.
She's shown up like 3 or 4 times and yelling at him every time. And I mean, I knew he was going to go sooner or later. And my only hope was that he didn't go in front of her.
It's very sad later on in the story when
she comes looking for him.
She comes looking for him and is not there.
God.
We also find out that Baker was in a gang, a super racist gang, and he's ashamed of his past. And maybe that's why he's here. Maybe he's punishing himself.
So, leading up to this, Garrity we find out a little more about his dad being politically outspoken, and we learn a little more about the squads and the government as a whole. They're talking about how people get squatted. Mm-hmm. And I think there's an argument where one guy is like, oh, only an idiot gets squatted because they talk about their political leanings out loud and they deserve to be disappeared. And like, it's this horrible, like, Jesus Christ, how terrifying to live in this dystopian dictatorship. And then this character, which Baker is like, yeah, back in my old life, I was part of the Klan, basically. And we burned a cross on a black guy's yard. God. And I believe someone says, wow, you were a part of a hate group. That's a squattable offense. So the only thing we know about this horrible dictatorship is they perform this horrible death march and they're anti-racist.
Wait, is it because they were part of a hate group or because they were part of a gang and they didn't want people banding together in a gang?
The only violence allowed is government regulated violence.
So no, they don't want people banding together for any purpose.
I guess it's
just still not
bugged
awesome.
me that I'm like,
I thought they were
does make
coming
sense.
down on gangs because they don't want people united.
Yeah, no organized groups of people.
As Baker was talking about this, that's what came to my mind. His shame of his past, and he had said he felt really bad about burning the cross, and that's when he got out of the gang. So I'd kind of wondered, okay, maybe this is his purpose. This is what's motivating him.
Some level of atonement, putting himself through this.
Well, still, fuck that guy.
Another boy gets his ticket, and there are more spectators, and it's the whole process just now is beginning to disgust Garrity. And he and McReese have a conversation about how the spectators are there to see walkers die, and about how all the walkers are dumb for being there. And dumb for thinking they know why they're there and that they thought they could make it to the end. And Stebbins interjects and tells them, that's when he says, you're all here because you want to die. Why else would you be here?
Not wrong. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a fair argument. They know going into it, that's how it ends.
So now we're at chapter 8, and 2 more boys get their tickets. That's 36 total, and we're at 99 miles. McReese, this is interesting. He drops his empty, their rations are like
tubes.
Yeah, like concentrate, chicken concentrate, tuna concentrate, bacon.
Spaceman food.
Anybody else, did you guys think I'd be out immediately because I couldn't eat a tube of meat
and
paste?
Food, so yes. So he drops his empty chicken concentrate tube and the spectators scramble for it and it becomes a souvenir. Even when they have to go to the bathroom, they have to poop, that becomes a souvenir. And Garrity asks McReese if he could do it all over again, would he participate in the walk? And
Dumbest question ever.
Pete has a very reasonable, insane response. Essentially, hell no.
Yeah, he's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what the hell? No.
The boys continue to walk, and something happens to Garrity when they come up on another crowd.
He comes in his pants again.
Kind of, in a way. Yeah, Collie Parker, like everybody's waving and being friendly, and he's coming up on Collie Parker, who's waving and smiling, but he's saying all these horrible insults under his breath, and it strikes Garrity, and he goes into a laughing fit. He starts to have hysterics.
This is how I die.
Yeah.
This is how I die on the walk. Laughing so hard I can't walk.
And if he wasn't our main character, this is when I would have thought for sure that he was going to get his ticket.
Yeah. He gets a warning because he starts laughing and like doubles over. And he's like trying to pull himself together, but it's just too funny. And he gets another warning. And so I think, was that his second or his third? Because I think he walked off.
He gets three warnings.
Yeah. He gets his third warning. And McVries has to like grab him and pull him along, kind of like how Garrity helped him earlier, and slaps him out of it. Tells him to pull his shit together, because if he doesn't, he is done. And McVries also gets a warning for stopping or for slowing down enough to help pull him along. And Garrity starts to catch his breath a little bit, like he's out of the hysterics, but then he starts seeing spots, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna faint." And then this is it. This is how I go. And then here's a gunshot, and pulls his focus, and is like, "It wasn't me." All right.
Yeah. There's that split second of, "Oh fuck, am I dead right now?"
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a boy named Morgan who got his ticket instead of Garrity. Garrity and Stebbins talk, and we learn that once they hit Augusta, there's continuous TV coverage of the walk. Garrity's walking with 3 warnings, and it doesn't scare him the way that he expected it would. Despite watching so many others die, there's a big part of him that still at this point doesn't believe that he can die. He's still the star of the Ray Garrity show. Garrity and McVries start to talk about what McVries did when a redheaded boy starts to scream. And he starts screaming, "Don't hurt me." He starts screaming for his mom. He starts screaming that his feet hurt as the half-track runs over his legs.
God, that was brutal.
Yeah, and they still give him his... he doesn't have legs. He can't get up to walk at this point. They're crushed. They still give him his final warning. Those are the rules. And then he gets his ticket.
The robotic nature of the soldiers makes them really terrifying villains, because they're almost not even villains. They're just a force of nature, basically. They
can't be reasoned with or pleaded with.
Yeah, they are not human entirely. They are just death.
This is their job, and they are going to do it. And nothing you say or do is going to change anything. It's the terrifying solidity of the rules. I guess that there's no wiggle room. There's no room for interpretation in any way. These are cut and dry rules of life and death. Mm-hmm. And nothing you do will change it, even getting your legs run over by a half track.
So here we find out how McVries got his scar. And if there's any problem I have in the book, it is with this story.
Yup.
Yeah, we basically find out that he and his girlfriend moved to the city to get jobs, and she's making more money than him. She's, a pretty girl, kind of put in this more comfortable position and makes good money, and he's doing this hard job, and he's not really good at this manual labor, and all the other guys are getting on him because he's slowing up the production line, and this is just causing problems in their relationship. And he basically tries to rape her one night, and she cuts his face.
I would argue, that it wasn't basically trying. He
definitely tried to rape her. He
tries to rape this girl, and he tells this story and I can't fault the writing, because it's told in a way that a piece of shit would tell this story.
Yeah, like
This
he never
isn't
takes
my
blame.
fault.
Yeah, he fully excuses his actions.
This is, she made me feel like a loser.
Well, and
she made me feel like a failure. So,
and asking him, how could he do this to her? How could he hurt her for trying to rape her?
yeah,
When he's bleeding, it's like she should have cut his head off.
yeah, and he after he yells at her and tells her, "I'm moving back home, you come with me," and she's like, "No, like you're being a huge asshole. I'm not doing that." He then says, I tried to take her to bed, and so she cut my face open with a letter opener." And it's said in such a way of like, can you believe that? And it's like,
The gall of some people.
hold on. You did not try to take her to bed. People do not cut open other people's faces for trying to take someone to bed.
Yeah.
You don't understand what things are. Like, you fucking rapist piece of shit.
And then he justifies it by saying, she's mental, man. Always has been.
Yeah.
Something, she gets it from her mother. She's always obsessed with money. No.
Yeah.
All right. So that was a rough one.
Do you think that part of that story of giving him something so terrible to make us like him less, because everybody's got to die? Like if there's, I don't know, like putting some massive character detail that makes us not feel so bad when he dies.
I thought of it in a crueler way, more of like you made me really like this character, and as soon as I let my guard down, you taught me that lesson of you don't really know people.
That's very true.
Yeah.
The boys continue to walk. They've gone 115 miles, and in 90 minutes, no one has died. Then around noon, 5 boys get their tickets.
Oof.
2 of sunstroke, 1 of seizures, the other of cramps, and another for reasons that we didn't even get.
I'm sorry, brain cramps? I believe you meant to say.
Or crotch cramps.
Or crotch cramps.
Sounds so good. Have either of you guys ever had sunstroke? It's
Yeah.
not fun.
No.
It's not something you can just like, I'm going to power through this.
Yeah, no. You get heat stroke, you're down.
Yeah. So Olsen isn't, and he's already not been looking good, but it's getting worse. And a boy in a green vest gets his ticket. So we keep getting these images of Olsen, and then a different boy gets his ticket. And I just thought that was interesting. Garrity sees another ghost. This one Italian, holding watermelon.
What are you talking
Not
about?
a ghost! It's a real person, Sam! How many times have I told you not everyone's a ghost?
This is a fun scene because this Italian vendor shows up and he thinks he's going to give the boys watermelon. And as we know by this point, the spectators cannot give anything to the walkers. And when he finds out that he can't give them watermelon, all hell breaks loose. And I was like, yeah, you go, Italian ghost.
That was pretty awesome. And like all the kids, all the walkers, like running up and like grabbing what they can get, while the soldiers drag this dude away.
Yeah, and he makes a run for them. He leaps, and the soldiers, I imagine, like in my head, I see this sort of cartoonish or really crazy action movie scene where
the
they
Benny Hill
leap
song
for
is...
him and they grab his ankles and he comes crashing to the ground, and all the watermelon he had in his arms just goes out to the boys, flies out of his arms, and they
sack
each
starts playing.
but they each get a piece of watermelon, except Stebbins.
It's because he doesn't
Need
it.
any. Yeah. All right. The boys have walked 120 miles, and it's
Jesus.
hot that afternoon, but the rain is coming, and it's going to be a huge storm. Unfortunately for them, this is just another thing that kind of like got me. The wind is not at their back. It is blowing into them. And imagine how much easier it would be to walk if you had that wind just kind of pushing you along. 2 more boys get their tickets, and then the temperature drops, and the hail comes, and the rain comes, and the rain doesn't stop for the rest of the day. 8 p.m. comes, and they're still walking in that weather.
It's crazy that they do this time lapse. Like, it's been going, like the time has been passing pretty steadily, and then it starts raining, And that's all we hear about for the rest of the day.
Yeah, we jump forward to the night.
It really like hammers home this idea of like, it's raining and it's so terrible that it blots out everything else because they're just wet and miserable. And it's not even like cooled down. You can just imagine it being that like humid, awful,
and it's
sticky.
No, it's cold though. It's spring, and so there's still that. It can be hot in the day, and then something changes, and all of a sudden it's like 40 degrees and you're freezing.
Yeah.
2 more boys get their tickets, and they get their tickets because they just faint. That's all that happens. And later, a boy named Phenom is the 50th walker to get his ticket. Everybody thought it was going to be Olsen, but it was this boy Phenom. So there are 50 left. They've walked over 120 miles, and they're getting closer to parts of Maine that Garrity is familiar with. And Stebbins tells him that he thinks that that's his edge because this is his land. Garrity notices, I thought this was cool, that Stebbins is wearing moccasins. He brought moccasins with him.
This is something, at some point, Stebbins has changed from his tennis shoes, which are now tucked into his pants, into moccasins. How the fuck do you change your shoes while walking 4 miles an hour?
You get a warning, man. You got 30 seconds.
He doesn't get a warning, though, because isn't there some part later in the book where he gets another warning and it's only his second warning at all for the whole walk?
I
guess not. I don't know.
So?
All right, so we're coming to the end here. They come up on a hill, and Garrity thinks that this hill is going to be where he gets his ticket because his legs are such that he feels like they're going to just collapse under him. And then he hears people chanting his name. Old Town High School has come to cheer him on. He doesn't get a ticket, but I would argue he, maybe with the help of Stebbins intentionally perhaps, Garrity helps Olsen get his.
Oh,
I loved that.
And the worst death of the book.
Man, I thought that was a real calculated thing by Stebbins. Maybe I'm reading too much into that character. Like that he's just like
think of that.
Cause he's just like talking to Garrett and he's like, yeah, Olsen's got a plan, man. He's doing it. He could win this, basically. He's like putting it in Garrity's head that like he's got the secret and he's never gonna stop. So if you find out what that secret is, I mean, you can probably win this, and you just got to go find out what he's doing. And Garrity like bothers him so much, basically like is trying to like get him to come forward. He
breaks him out of that state that he's put himself into, that kind of protection against the walk and the world and what's happening. And then what I feel happened is that reality came crashing back in on Olsen. The pain, all the despair, all the hopelessness.
Pulled him out of the safe place he was in. Mm-hmm. And then all the hell he's been through came rushing out.
See, that's interesting because I think Stebbins was being sincere.
Really?
Yes. This is the part where I've made several allusions to how deep are you? Because that is what will determine who wins, who can go the deepest and keep going. And Olsen is way deep in there.
You see, my thought was that Stebbins was a little afraid of Olsen because he was running on empty for so long. And that a part of Stebbins was like, I'm going to have to outwalk this guy who is so deep and in autopilot. I don't know that he'll stop. And so he got Garrity to fix that problem.
No, I did not think that at all. No, what's going to happen?
I fall more. Yeah, we could take bets. I'm willing to throw down. No, I fall more into kind of what Josh said, thinking about how Stebbins, he's had this sort of cynical attitude, or maybe that's not the right way to put it, but what we've gotten of him so far, his personality, that fit right in with me.
So, yeah, Olsen's death.
That's a horrible scene.
And with it coming, we've seen this coming for so long. And when it comes, you don't not like this. Not like this.
This blew my mind. So Olsen is now just back, and he's fully back in the world. He's outside of himself. He's back in the world, and he loses his mind. He runs over to the half track and starts climbing in, and the soldiers are like going to like rifle butt him to knock him out of the half track, and he starts grabbing the guns out of the soldiers' hands and just throwing them and trying to pull soldiers out of the half track. Like, he is out for blood, and the soldiers shoot him twice, knocking him off the half track, and he lands on his back. Then he gets up. They shoot him again. He falls flat. He gets up again and starts walking, holding his intestines inside him. You can see...
Not very successful.
Not very successfully. They are slipping through his stomach as he's trying to walk, but he will not stop walking. They shoot him again, and he falls to the ground, and he continues to get back up and starts walking again. And he gets shot again, and he finally goes down, and Garrity runs to him and is just holding his head, and he gets a warning for stopping, and McVrees runs back and grabs him, and McVrees gets another warning and pulls him away because you can't help Olsen, but that sight was so horrific, Garrity couldn't just walk away from that.
He gets up one more time. Olsen does. And he raises his hands to the sky and he shouts, "I did it wrong."
For those to be his dying words, that made perfect sense to Olsen.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's when you said he lost his mind, I think that's very literal.
Chapter 11 opens on Old Town at midnight, and the crowd that shows up to cheer the boys on, or as the boys have come to realize to watch them die, is pretty disappointed. No one dies in Old Town that night.
What a bummer.
What a bummer.
Right off the bat, 120 miles.
Yeah.
I don't have the best grasp of like just eyeballing measurements, but I'm pretty sure 120 miles is more than I've walked in my life. Like all added up together. That's insane to me.
Yeah, that is crazy. I don't think I've ever walked that far either. Well, not according to my Fitbit, which is very shameful. All right. The boys get to see the Major again, and they get a 400-gun salute, and the boys have a salute of their own planned. What did you guys think of theirs?
I giggled.
I did too.
First of all, that's the cruelest thing that they could do is they have a salute from the troops of shooting a bunch of guns. That's like welcoming people back from war with a 21 gun salute. Mm-hmm. And like these kids have PTSD by now. Mm-hmm. But their salute, yeah, pretty good and also pretty depressing. Word comes back through the grapevine that when this salute comes back, the remaining walkers are going to gather together and they're going to present their act of defiance by all just making fart sounds with their mouths.
Yeah.
All at the same time, though.
All
they're
at the same
organized.
time. Yeah. But they do it, and then there's nothing. The soldiers one of them kind of thinks that the soldiers might have like looked at them reproachfully, but it doesn't accomplish anything. No one cares.
Yeah.
And even then in that moment, they're all like, oh.
It didn't make them feel good the way they hoped it would. Garrity and Parker have an interesting talk about their remaining resolve, and Garrity's left feeling despair. And I thought that the metaphor that Parker uses is interesting. He's comparing the remaining walkers to a box of crackers.
It's accurate. I mean, we've seen all of these people more or less fall apart. There's been very few deaths that have been quick, except for like the one kid running off into the woods, like breaking the rules. But getting those warnings before getting your ticket is seeing somebody fall apart piece by piece, and they're all going to sooner or later. And now we're getting to the point where it's going to start happening much faster.
No, I think that's the opposite of the argument they're making.
Yeah.
Because they're saying the kids that have gone out so far, they're the tiny crumbs that fall through the sieve. And the kids that are remaining, it's going to take longer to break them down because they're the bigger chunks.
Okay, yeah.
That I think Garrity says, it'll be over soon. We're halfway. And they're like, no, because it's going to take, we're the strong ones.
Yeah, it's kind of like how we've been talking, and I think, Josh, this was your point. You'd rather go out at the very beginning.
Yep.
And so they've gone through all this suffering, so they do have that resolve because they don't want it to have been for nothing. An unknown boy gets his ticket, leaving us with 45. And Garrity wonders if they all wouldn't be better off dead. In death, at least he could rest his feet. I have that thought when I walk.
Yeah, I get that. I get that if I have like an extra long day at work. I'm like, ugh.
So he dozes and he's thinking of Jan and he's imagining her top to bottom, and he's building her in his mind piece by piece. Her legs, her waist, her face, her whore's hair.
Super weird.
It's a great description. I think that's a compliment.
Well, and
He means it as one for some reason.
so yeah, and the most fascinating part though, so this was obviously before he left for the walk, and he's remembering a time when he and Jan were sitting together or making out, I don't remember, but it just slipped out. He called her hair whore's hair. And he thinks, well, she didn't seem to mind. In fact, I think she was secretly pleased. Because what happens next is following this wonderful thought he has. I don't feel as bad for him as I might otherwise have felt. He has to go to the bathroom, and they are in the middle of it all. Like, there's a crowd around them. And it's the first time that Garrity has had to go to the bathroom. Can we talk about that for a minute? Because that's wild. How many days are we on?
This is the third,
I
or
think.
fourth.
Like, did they clean themselves out before they started the walk or what? That's nuts. Wouldn't you feel terrible?
Yeah. Maybe something about the stress. Is stress...
The stress and food pastes.
Oh, yeah, those food pastes.
Well, he
Maybe they're a binding agent. I don't know.
I figured they'd make things slip out easier, but I guess... Should I not have said slip out? Baker, our resident racist, has some pretty dumb things to say about two boys up ahead who they thought they were lovers, but they're actually brothers.
Which is pretty messed up that they would both sign up.
Oh, yeah. We talked last episode about how that drawing works. How did two boys from the same family get picked? What are the odds of how? I can't remember how many boys they said put in their name for that drawing, but how? And then how do you pick? Maybe that's why they're both there, because how can you pick which one's going to back out? It's just horrible.
Oh, I
yeah.
guess. But yeah, just the fact that they both said, yeah, we're doing this, knowing for a fact, even if they're like, oh, well, we can do it.
One of
How
them's gonna be
terrible would it
outwalking the
be
other.
that if they were the last two?
I feel like it would come down to, if you managed to be the last two, you and your brother would be probably the most bittersweet kind of ending. But I would imagine it would be the case of just one of them bowing out. Yeah, I don't think they could put themselves in a position to walk the other one to death and know that the other one could live through that.
Yeah.
So one of them would just have to give up. But
I
hey,
wanna
double
read that
chances to
book.
win the prize.
Yeah. I want to read that book. I want to know what their motivation
those
was,
two,
because
yeah.
there had to have been something where their family needed this prize more than at least twice as much as everyone else's family.
Yeah, that's rough.
I shouldn't have laughed at that. That's dark.
The boys continue to walk, and despite Garrity's hope that many will drop that night, only 2 other boys get their tickets. Pearson tells Garrity that if he could do it all over again, he'd have never done the walk, which is a horrible statement because it's not like this is a decision that he can learn from. He comes up with a plan for when he gets too tired to go on, and he's going to run into the crowd and hope the soldiers don't shoot him for fear of hitting people in the crowd.
Yeah, because that's what we've learned. The squads are timid.
Yeah.
McReese tells him that Scram's dying, and the boys make a gesture.
This is maybe the most tragic death because Scram has kind of become, I don't know, almost a symbol. Like, he's just a good guy. Mm-hmm. And he was so sure of himself, and everyone was so sure he was going to win. And yeah, they all band together and they say, no matter who wins, we have to take care of Scram's wife.
Like, there's no way, like, Scram's gonna die today. And then getting everybody on board. The only people not on board so far are Barkovich and Stebbins. And Garrity opts to be the one to talk to them. And this was his conversation with Barkovich was so painful to read about. So Barkovich, he comes up and Garrity gives him the pitch and he says that he'll do it, that he's completely on board. And he also apologizes because, like, we all got off on the wrong foot and I can't go anymore alone. Like, I need friends. I need to not die hated by everyone.
But then he goes on to talk about how everybody hates him and it's never his fault. They're always out to get him. And it's like, oh, you had me and you just showed your true colors again. Stebbins also agrees to participate, and he makes an interesting point that this is probably very common among the last group of walkers in every walk.
That would not surprise me. It seems like a group of people having gone through that amount of trauma together. If there's anybody who has a story that's either on the level of Scram's or worse, maybe it's something they feel like they end up owing to someone.
Well, and I kind of thought of it as maybe that gives them motivation to keep walking. Like, I gotta walk for Kathy and the unborn baby now.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Especially if you don't trust the other walkers.
Yeah.
If you feel like, if that motivates you to, like, I need to win because I know I will do it. I don't know if they'll do it.
He also says something else that I want to talk about. We had a bit of a debate as to whether Stebbins manipulated Garrity into essentially cracking Olsen, and if Stebbins knew what he was doing and what would happen when he did that. Did that change your opinion at all?
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, in this conversation, he's pretty much, he tells him, like, oh, you really did that, didn't you? Well, Olsen didn't have any secrets. He was just dying. Like, it was 100% Stebbins playing mind games. And I'm apparently with Garrity in being a naive dummy. Because I honestly was like, oh, yeah, he's trying to help our boy out. No, he really comes around this bit in some really weird ways.
Yeah.
What did his mind games get a little creative?
He starts off with, like, some subtle stuff, and then as it goes on, it gets crazier because he hasn't slept in 3 days.
Fair.
So in his mind, like, whatever crazy plan, he might be like, that's fucking genius.
Yeah, when he's just like, his mind games degrade from, I'm going to essentially get Garrity to inadvertently kill Olsen, to Garrity, you want to have sex with your mom, right?
Yeah, that was so, like, all right, man.
What is with the incest stuff in the last part of this book?
It gets weird in a couple ways. There's that, and there's something else around that time too that's just like, what's happening? What am I reading?
Can we talk about that? Because do you have that in your notes?
I do. Yeah, that's coming.
Okay.
So we're gonna get to some odd conversations that Garrity has, not just with Stebbins, but with some other boys too. But in the meantime, Garrity checks in on Scram, and this is really sad because other than being sick, he's otherwise in great shape. His feet don't hurt, and this is where we really get the sense that he easily could have won this thing if he just had not gotten sick. Scram thanks them for taking care of Kathy, and he makes a decision. Let's talk about Scram's ticket.
Scram's such a good dude.
Yeah.
And I think it's just before this is that we find out that Mike, one of the brothers in the Vanguard, has just really bad stomach cramps. That the word has come back about that, and Scram takes off, and they see him talking to the two brothers, and they are just kind of having what looks like a kind of a casual conversation, and then Mike and Scram just veer off together onto the side of the road over next to a crowd of people they're all walking past. and they just sit down and have a chat and then flip off the soldiers when they give them their warnings. And that's how they go. It's so weird.
Weirdly peaceful.
It's a complete opposite of Olson's death. His was so violent and unfair and horrible. And it's like, if you could exert any control over a situation like this, I guess they did it the best they could. They chose the way they were going to go out.
And Scram, what everyone is offering him is giving him some peace, because he knows that his wife and child will be okay to a degree. And it seems like his last act is to offer comfort to the boy who's dying and to the brother, because his brother's not dying alone.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like such a classy move, and just like a really heartfelt move after being moved by what everyone does for him.
The boys continue to walk, and Garrity gets a cramp, and he sits down. So you know when you're watching a suspenseful movie and you get so into what's on the screen that you start talking to the character. You're like, don't go in there. Like they're going to hear you and go, oh, thanks, and not go in there and not die. This is when I started yelling at Garrity, telling him not to sit down, telling him to get up. So he tells McVrees, keep going. Don't worry about me. He's massaging his leg. He's trying to get it to go away. And so it eventually does. And he does not get up right away. And was that a tense moment for you guys?
King does some crazy shit in his books.
He does weird third act stuff.
Yeah. How interesting would it have been if this was the moment? What could have happened other than the rest of the book that we got?
I think we'd all be going, oh, right about now.
Yeah.
It would have been nuts if that had happened.
Yeah.
It would have blown my teenage mind.
Yeah.
And it would have blown my mind again reading it this time.
I want to read a version of this book where he does get shot right now, and the rest of the book is his ghost walking with the rest of them and seeing the rest of the walk. Or rebels busting out of the crowd. And the rest of the book is
maybe in the movie
Hunger
version.
Games. I don't know.
So what's funny is that I was reading, I was a little ahead in our reading, and I messaged our group chat to say, I'm coming up on towards the end of the book. I don't know if I should stop or keep going. And CM told me that I needed to stop. I could not read the rest of the book before we got to this episode. And so the entire time I'm reading this section of the book, I'm waiting for something to happen. And there was a teeny part of me that thought that followed that thread of like, Stephen King might jump a protagonist and I would lose my goddamn mind.
Oh, man. I'm sorry. I set the bar way high on accident. No, what ends up happening is not as nuts as that would have been. All right. So Garrity catches up to McVrees, and he tells him that he's got about 2 seconds between him and death for the next hour, because he was sitting on the floor, on the ground. He had a soldier with a gun in his face. His finger was on the trigger, and he's incredibly close to getting his ticket. And so McVrees offers to go up to the very front with him to top their speed. And so Garrity's freaking out, and he finally, because like this is where he realizes, I can die, like I can lose this. And I couldn't help but laugh when a woman in the crowd audibly says, Garrity won't last much longer, and he tells her her tits won't last much longer.
Solid burn.
I don't know
Nailed
why. I was
it.
just like, yeah, man. It's just such a cold remark to make that a walker can hear.
Yeah.
It's like he's not even a person to these people.
Oh, no. I don't think they are.
They're just entertainment. We've talked about that. But Garrity and McVrees passed the hour by talking about what they did when they found out they got picked for the walk. So let's talk first about Garrity and then what McVrees did.
Well, first in this description is when we get all the details of how this thing runs down, that there are 2 different backout dates. There's the backout and a blackout date, and that they televise the drawing of the names, and they draw 200 names. So there's 100 there that so they know that if your name is there, you are either a walker or a backup, but you don't know if you're a backup until the day before the walk. So the entire time, like if you're one of those 200, you have no idea whether it's you or not. And we find out that Garrity was a walker from the start, and McVrees was a backup.
That setup is so devious and such a fucked up way that this government handles it. It makes so much more sense why the boys don't drop out. Because if there are 200 kids, if they had drawn 100 names and they said, you're a walker, I bet anything that way more of the kids would drop out because, oh, well, I have to walk. It might set in. The reality of their situation would set in. But if there are 200 people and your name gets drawn, some of our characters talk about it and they say, well, coming up to the blackout date, it didn't seem real. I was, oh yeah, my name got drawn, but I'm probably just a backup anyway. And it's so devious.
I have the breakdown of kind of how that's set up to sort of show why it would, you're right, it would make that very hard. So we find out that only 1 in 50 of the boys who take the tests needed to get into the walk pass. That still leaves about 1,000. Only 200 will be picked, 100 to walk, and 100 as backups for anyone who backs out before the walk. They televise the drawing, and when you hear your name, you don't know if you are a walker or backup. So there's like this strange built-in sense of pride because you've beat all these other boys. And that's kind of what Garrity falls into. It makes him feel special because what are the odds, and he got it. He passed the tests.
And everybody at school knew who he was, and they are like, oh, you got drawn for the long walk. And so that adds the peer pressure to not be a chicken and back out. Whereas if you think you're not going to be one of the walkers and you make it to that day, like, I would have done it.
Right.
Shucks.
That's an interesting point, though, about the tests that all of these guys have to take a written test and a psychological test to make sure that they are able to join the walk.
How'd Barkovich get in?
Well, that's exactly it. Because I forget which character it is. Abraham. Where he wrote like he had tons of misspellings and was just like, I'm going to join the walk because I'm just a dumb fuck and
the world
whatever.
would be a better place without me.
Yeah. I feel qualified to participate in the long walk because I am one useless SOB and the world would be better without me. Unless I happen to win and get rich, in which case I would buy a van, go to put in
Van goes, but he spells it with...
Yeah, I would buy a Van Gogh, VANGO, to put in every room of my mansion, MANSHUN, and order up 60 high-class whores.
Wait,
60 high-class
horses?
And not bother anybody. So, it's... Yes, there's a test, but obviously the tests don't mean anything.
Or are they... Because when I think of him, I think, yes, the tests don't mean anything. When I think of Barkovich, I think they're intentionally putting people in there to shake things up or to cause problems. I don't know.
They're casting a TV show.
Well, actually, I think it has a lot to do with what this book is kind of actually a metaphor about, that this was written during Vietnam. And it makes so much more sense when you think of this as kind of a Vietnam metaphor, is... Of course, who are the people that end up going to Vietnam is the uneducated, the low class. And that's kind of who got picked for the walk. So I think that's pretty interesting.
There was one other thing. McVrees tells us that he was number 12 backup. He got the call around 11 p.m. 4 days ago. So he got the call basically like right at the end of that deadline where he could have dropped out. And here he is. And that is so, if I was him, I would be so infuriated that I was this close to not being here.
Mm-hmm. He was one of those people that was like, I can take the risk. I don't need to back out because I'm probably just one of the backups. And he was, and it's still, he didn't have a chance to say, no, I don't want to do this.
Yeah. But he also kind of wants to die.
Yeah, he's
Also true.
Garrity's hour passes, and just then another boy gets his ticket. And so does a dog.
Oh my God. Why?
Can we talk about that, Josh?
Why, Bachman? Why? God. So they're walking, and a dog runs onto the road on which they are walking, and with no hesitation, one of the soldiers just shoots that dog to death.
Which is a neat setup for later when a toddler runs out onto the road and this mom is screaming like, oh my God, the soldiers are going to shoot my kid. And I'm thinking, oh my God, those soldiers are going to shoot a kid. And they don't. They just kind of shove him out of the way a bit.
Sure.
They're getting closer to Augusta, and Garrity's going to get to see his family in about 50 or so miles. He and McReese slow down a little to make their way back to Baker. So the original three musketeers are back together. So the boys continue to walk, and they walk into the roaring crowd of Augusta, all now 37 of them. The energy of the crowd infects the boys, and they start cheering back, even though it's taking valuable breath and energy. And Garrity is cheering so hard that he starts to get a stitch in his side, and then he gets pain in his chest. And they're all saved by Milligan.
Ooh. When they walk through Augusta, they talk about the crowd becomes crowd with a capital C. It's the crowd is a being. It's the monster that is the crowd, and it's driving them all insane. Which also made me think of Revival a little bit. that Lovecraftian creature that is driving them to this madness. And Milligan drops to the road and squeezes his eyes shut. And he puts his hands to his temples, and he has his nose on the ground, and he just completely just collapses, and he's like screaming against all of the screaming and cheering that's happening, and then just gets his ticket right there on the road. And then everyone else is like, right. We're doing a contest.
We're in the middle of something here.
Sorry, my bad, guys. Let's get back to the walking.
So this is our other bizarre conversation. I want to talk about what transpires between Garrity and McReese, as I didn't see this coming.
Neither did Garrity.
It was not a natural part of the conversation. So McReese tells Garrity that Parker thinks that they're gay for each other. And then he jokingly tells him that maybe they are. And maybe that's why they've saved each other's lives so many times. And it's making Garrity uneasy. And then McReese is like, can I jerk you off? and they have like this argument, this fight about it.
Oh God, it's so funny.
And they have this fight about it because Garrity realizes he wants to be touched, and he basically, unless I misinterpreted this, says yes, and McReese laughs it off and drops back.
Well, he basically says, "I'm not because of your reaction. I'm neither going to confirm or deny whether I was joking. So you just deal with the fact that offer is put on the table, and you can have whatever feelings you have about it."
And Garrity's like, do whatever you want.
Yeah, he's
whatever you want.
He gives up. It was like, yeah, fine, I guess.
Being jerked off is not a situation where you just give up. It happens.
I know. I can't tell you how many dates I've been on. I'm like, fine, I give up.
Just do it.
Jerk me off, I guess.
I don't know. I think there in earlier sections of the book, there are I got a weird feeling of like there was something passing between
some
McReese.
Chemistry.
There was some chemistry. But I thought I was imagining it.
You are not, because I actually think that, and I'm trying to think of when this book came out in relation to other books. So I could be wrong on this, but I would make the argument that Garrity is our first Stephen King, if not gay, bisexual main character.
That could be, yeah.
Sure.
All right, yeah, Garrity's our first Stephen King bisexual character. Awesome.
Also, our first character that really wants to have sex with his mom. What's with the what is with the incest stuff?
So much of it.
Have we gotten to that point yet?
Well, you've already asked that question. So
yes, it's an important question. What the hell?
We're getting there.
Okay.
So Barkovich and Garrity end up having a conversation shortly after this, and Garrity kind of loses it on Barkovich. And at the end of this tirade,
not as much as Barkovich loses it.
He asks him if he wants to touch him. If Barkovich wants to touch Garrity. And then he thinks about touching wieners and his old friend Jimmy.
Yep. So many times it comes back to that incident with him and Jimmy.
Yeah, there's such a weird sexual undercurrent to this book that I just don't understand at all.
Well,
it's just Garrity has so much weird repressed sexuality issues.
I also wanted to point out, this is a really minor thing. It happens a little bit later. I think it's like in the next chapter, but they pass by a sign that says May is confirm your sex month.
That's one of those like just hints of world building that I really love. That we just get flashes of the dystopian society that this book takes place in.
Yeah. But I wonder what that sign means in relation to the world has to relate to that sexual undercurrent.
Yeah.
That we have running through. It's a tie that I don't think we'll ever discover.
Yeah.
But I wonder if there's a specific purpose that sign is meant to represent in that undercurrent. But I don't know. I'm not smart enough.
Okay, let's talk about the exchange between Garrity and Barkovich. When Barkovich starts losing it, he gives a pretty out there speech and then does something disturbing.
In all this madness, a shot rings out. Everybody thinks it's going to be Barkovich any second. He's on his third warning, and a shot rings out, and Barkovich cackles that it wasn't him, and he starts just laughing, and then Abe tells him, "Shut up, you prick," and then Barkovich just starts sobbing heavily, just goes from that laughter to that insane sadness.
So to give a sense of where Barkovich's head is at this point, he's telling Garrity what he's going to do if he wins, and he says he'll get plastic feet and cut off his if they can't take a joke and put them in a washing machine and watch them go round and round. So he crazy.
He has officially lost his mind.
That is such a great moment because it comes out of nowhere. Because Garrity just like walks up to him and he's just, "You know what I'll do, Garrity? I'm getting plastic feet." And it's like, oh, you're insane.
I love this little reenactment.
That's the voice I heard it in. Just super matter-of-factly.
Like he just cracked the code.
Yeah.
I don't know why no one's ever asked for this, but I got it, guys. So it continues on. Another shot fires off. It's not Barkovich again. And then Barkovich starts yelling and then rips out his own throat.
With his bare hands.
With his bare ass hands. He just goes full feral, and he's like, he's ripped his throat out and he's still screaming. He's like still yelling, but you can't understand anything he's saying. And he finally drops to the ground, and the soldiers stand there and then shoot him, whether he was dead or alive. Like he could have been dead already. It didn't matter. They still shot him for good measure. And then McVreeze says, I wish I were insane. And I was like, me too, buddy.
And
me too.
Is this the point? God, I think it's happened a couple times. So as we're getting this description of this terrible death, like one of the other walkers near our main ones, or maybe it was one of our main ones, throws up on himself as he's walking.
Yeah.
And it's just like that. It's so hard sometimes to picture what they're actually doing, but in moments like these, it's so clear and rough.
So disgusting.
So going back just a little bit, Garrity's talking about the next towns that are coming up, and one of them is Lewiston, and they'll walk on Cotter Memorial Avenue. And it's named after the only guy from Maine to win the long walk. He hemorrhaged in one eye and finished the walk half blind, and he died a week later.
Man. Which also, it kind of goes into what McVreeze said earlier on of like, nobody actually wins. They take the winner around back and shoot him. Mm-hmm. Like, it makes you wonder, like, how how many walkers has that happened? How many of them have sustained injuries that there's no coming back from?
Oh, I am certain that if they don't die shortly after winning, then they're catatonic. They'd have to be. There's no coming back mentally.
Hopefully they all get therapy after.
That's what they ask.
I bet they all.
That's what the prize is.
The one walker. The boys continue to walk, and more have gotten their tickets during the night, and no one knows quite how many. They've lost track. But they think that it might have been 6, which leaves us with 26 walkers, if I did my math correctly. Another gets his ticket, and Stubbins plants doubt in Garrity's mind about whether he'll actually get to see his mom and Jan, whether they'll be able to make their way up to the front of the crowd to be waiting for him on the side of the road.
At this point, it is very clear that Stubbins is playing the psycho game.
Well, he's also established that Garrity is so easy to get under his skin. He flat out told him how easy it is to rile you up, and he's going to.
Which makes me think Stubbins does need other people on the walk. Not in the way that McRees or Garrity need them, in a twisted way.
I don't know. I don't know that I agree with that, only because I think he needs them to be dead. That's what he needs from them. That's the only thing he needs from them is he needs them to either break themselves or he needs to step up and help do some breaking.
Yeah, I don't think he needs them the way like Barkovich, because I feel like that's what you meant. Because Barkovich needed the other people.
That was
as motivation.
Kind of the point you made. And I think we kind of like flipped because I didn't really feel that way. But I'm like, yeah, I think he does do that. Like I don't know. I feel like it's more than him just trying to win.
I don't know. I feel like this is almost like entertainment. Like he's kind of killing time. And I feel like
disturbing.
it's kind of what I said about why he makes Garrity crack Olsen, is that I feel like there's a part of him that sees Garrity's potential to finish and it decides that, all right, I need to break him a little further because he's not breaking enough on his own.
Mm-hmm. His strategy involves doing things to other people, whereas everyone else's strategy has just been focusing on their own plan, what they're going to do, how they're going to make it. Garrity loses his shoes, and Baker starts to lose his mind. And another boy gets his ticket, and a boy named Klingerman gets appendicitis. And he just keeps walking and screaming and holding his side. And as bad as having a seizure or getting a Charlie horse and being brought down by things like that, appendicitis is so unfair.
There's been a wide variety of things that have hit these walkers. A lot of ailments have struck this group of 100 boys.
So Garrity finally gets to see his mom and Jan, and because of this, McRees has to save his life one more time.
I loved this scene. It was so awesome because he gets to get this payoff that we've been hoping for. He's going to see his mom and he sees Jan. And obviously that moment is just too brief because he wants to just stay there. And the fact that McFreeze, after Garrity gets his third warning, he grabs him and says, if you're going to do it, at least do it around the corner.
Yeah.
It's so blunt.
Don't die in front of them.
Yeah. Because he might have let himself.
Mm-hmm. And that would have been just the worst possible thing. That, imagine it from their point of view of they're waiting, they're terrified for Garrity, and then they see him only to have his brains blown out like a foot in front of them.
And we didn't talk about this when we were talking about Garrity's story of how he got selected, but his mom and Jan did not want him to go. They begged him to back out.
Of course they did. Any reasonable person would, right?
Yeah, you would think that.
I would hope so, but I don't know. I mean, how many families might be in such a position that they let their child make that sacrifice for the good of the family if they win?
Or how many people are so devoted to this government that I think it's an honor to be selected.
My child is the state's child.
Yeah.
I don't know. The boys continue to walk, and a boy named Tubbins gives a terrible sermon. Call back to Revival.
Yep.
3 more boys get their tickets, and the remaining walkers make another deal. This one not so kind and warm and fuzzy.
It's almost the opposite of the deal they made for Scram, because Abraham comes back, and at this point, he's taken off his shirt, and he looks just skeletal and pale. And he comes back to Garrity and he says, listen up, there's only a few of us left, and we are on our own now. For real, if you're going to do it from here on out, you do it on your own. Mm-hmm. No more help. And if you do help anyone, then you'll be ostracized. Yeah. You'll be cast out of their group.
And I want to come back to this conversation at the end. Another boy gets his ticket, and let's talk about what Parker does, because Parker does something amazing.
This is awesome, and also heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It happens so fast. I believe it's Garrity isn't paying attention. He's walking with his head down, staring at the road, and then he hears something, and he looks up, and Parker's standing on the half track with a rifle in his hands, and he has climbed up on the half track, and he has disarmed one of the guards and I believe shot him.
Yep.
And he's looking at all of the boys on the road. And how many? There are 20 some left?
Like 26
20 some.
Few or less, yeah.
Boys left, and he's looking at the walkers, and the walkers are just staring at him. And Garrity even says he's like, it doesn't process. He doesn't even understand what is happening at all. Parker gets knocked down by the other guards, and it's over before anything can happen. They shoot him, they go on. And Garrity walks over to McFreeze, and he's like, what was that? What he wanted something. What was it? And McFreeze just says, don't worry about it. Don't think about it. It's heartbreaking, because this could have been a completely different end to the book.
And I think it was McFreeze maybe who points that out too. He says, we could have done it. Like he thought they had a real chance to do it, but they just were like, they're so in their own worlds at this point.
Yeah. McFreeze is the only one who says his name. Like they see it happen, she gets shot and falls off, and he just says Parker.
Yeah.
And moves on. Like, it's so sad.
There's no way the walkers could have won, obviously.
Yeah.
Against the government. But
it might have started
on that exactly.
Yeah.
On that half track there are 4 soldiers, maybe 5, who knows? Not many. They are severely outnumbered. And sure, some of the boys would have died, but they could have taken over that half track. Now, when the first round of reinforcements came, they all would have been dead. But that walk would have been over.
Yeah.
And who knows what that would have done.
Mm-hmm. And remind me, was there a crowd?
Oh, yeah, because they're in the middle of...
So it wouldn't have been... Because I was thinking, what would the government do with that?
Because now
how would they spin that? But if there's witnesses to it, then maybe that starts some sort of revolution.
From this point on, it's televised.
That's right.
They hit that point, and they said that if, once it drops to this many people, it's televised 24/7 the whole time. And I think it even says that while Parker was firing, some of his shots went into the crowd and heard people in the crowd getting hit with his stray bullets.
9 other boys get their tickets, including Baker and Abraham. Garrity sees that McFreeze is starting to crack. They're down to 9 of them now. And Stebbins tells us why he's here. Because that's the reason I didn't want you to read ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. And it had the impact.
Okay, good.
I lost my mind.
Well, what happened, Josh?
The Major is Stebbins' dad. He's a bastard. Mm-hmm. And oh god, he was going to surprise the Major when he won and be like, "I'm your kid." But the Major knows and doesn't care.
he put him in. Stebbins says that he's the rabbit, meaning he compares himself to the mechanical rabbit they use at dog races.
Yeah.
That he thinks the major knew the whole time, and he knew how much more Stebbins would want it, how hard he would work, and he put Stebbins in specifically to make everyone work harder to beat him.
And it worked.
And it worked.
And it worked, especially because we got that at the very, very beginning. Everybody noticed Stebbins right away.
Mm-hmm.
And he did. He pushed everyone. They broke all these records. So clearly it worked.
And I think we might have already talked about this. I think he got 2 warnings total.
Yeah.
This whole 4 days. All right. So they make it to Massachusetts, 7 of them. A boy named Fielder goes crazy. He gets a ticket. Baker gets a devastating nosebleed. McVrees sits down. Garrity tries to pick him up and screams at the soldiers to shoot Garrity, and gets his 3rd warning, trying to help McVrees. So this is it. We're just down to Stebbins and Garrity. 99 tickets have been given because they shot a dog. on the road. He was a walker.
Nope, yep, you're right.
So Garrity is about to give up, and he knows that he can't outwalk Stebbins. He's going to stop. And then it happens.
Oh, Stebbins just dies.
No fanfare. Nothing special.
Not shot.
Garrity walks up, goes to tap him on the shoulder to be like, I'm out.
Yep.
And when Stebbins looks, there is just nothing. There's no recognition in his face. Stebbins reaches a hand out and it claws at his shirt and then just
Boom.
Drops.
And then Garrity sees another ghost.
God damn it.
The ending.
No.
The ending of this book is so good. Stebbins goes down. He falls. And Garrity kind of looks at him and then keeps walking. As he's walking, military jeep drives up and he thinks, what's this asshole doing? You can't drive on the road. That guy's going to get shot. And he sees a military man in mirrored sunglasses step out and walk towards him. And he shakes the guy off and keeps walking because he thinks, I have to keep going. I'm going to win this. And as he's looking down the road, he sees a dark shape beckoning him. And in the end, he finds the strength to run. One of the best closing lines of a book I've ever read. I have goosebumps. Honest to God. It ends with him still going. Or does it? What's your question, Sienna? Because I better know what it is.
No, actually, my question is related to this thing that we keep talking about, the strategies. Because when they get to Massachusetts, Stebbins has only had 2 warnings the entire walk, like we said. He's kind of the best walker. And it was down to him, McVrees, and Garrity. And then it was just him and Garrity. McVrees and Garrity have saved each other's lives numerous times throughout this walk. And we talked before about, Stebbins' plan was to go solo and make no friends. And McVrees is endearing himself to everyone, and that's saved his life a few times. So making friends on the walk is why Stebbins loses and Garrity wins.
Why?
Because if Garrity and McVrees had not made friends, they wouldn't have saved each other. They would have been out so early in the walk. I mean, who knows who it would have been down to with Stebbins, but those two pulled each other mile after mile in some cases.
Very true.
I completely agree. Not the question I was left with at the end of this book. The question I want to put to you two is, does Garrity survive? He wins. But at the end of this book, at the last line of this book, is he alive?
I think he's not alive.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I took it as he dies, or he's going to die very soon, because I think he is going crazy, and either he's hallucinating, and so he sees, like, he's hallucinating that there's still one more walker to outwalk.
Mm-hmm.
Or, because he's obviously sleep deprived and dehydrated and starving and stuff. Or it's like his brain just firing off as he's dying.
Fair.
His only hope is that, because it leaves me with the impression that he is going to run until his body collapses. So it is really up to the medical attention he gets once he collapses.
Yeah, maybe he'll wake up in the hospital a week later.
But my thought is that he will run himself to death.
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, I love the ending of this book, how it is ambiguous. You don't know what exactly happens. Interestingly enough, I actually do know
what
happens at the end of this book. I did a little research, and I found on this Stephen King fan forum that when this book was originally written, this was, according to what I read, the first book King ever wrote. He wrote it in college, and it didn't get published until years later. But when he originally wrote it, it had a different ending. It had more to the ending that kind of explained what happens. And when it actually got published under Bachman's name, he edited it down a little bit. But thanks to a forum member named Bango Skank, I actually have the original ending of the book.
Oh my
Give
God.
It to us.
Oh my God.
I would love to read.
Oh my God.
Okay. So, what was the last line of the book was something in the end, he found that he still had the strength to run. 3 shambling bounds down the road, a heavy hand fell on Garrity's shoulder. Turning, Garrity was confronted by a smiling face, clean and untouched by the exhaustion that had settled into the deepest parts of his being. In the moment before he recognized the Major, he believed he saw his father behind the reflective surfaces of his sunglasses. Congratulations, number 47. You are the winner of the long walk. Name your prize, and you will have it. Garrity's mind scrabbled for purchase on the question. The prize was ephemeral, a specter amidst the horrors of the walk. The prize wasn't real, but the words of the dead boy being drug off the road not 20 feet behind him rung true. And so he opened his mouth and croaked his wish. I want to fuck my mom. The Major gawked. What? Your son told me to fuck my mom, and I say, yes, please.
Oh my God.
The Major tipped his glasses down his nose and stared at Garrity through a second pair of mirrored sunglasses underneath the first pair. I don't think that's a good idea. You're a national hero, and I just think fucking your mom would be bad optics. Garrity frowned, the dirt on his face cracking like the cement beneath his bare, bleeding feet. Bring me my mom! For fucking! He pouted heroically.
I wish you would stop.
In the years to come, what happened next would become the stuff of legend. The talk of Garrity's final moments, a squattable offense, whispered by revolutionaries and children on playgrounds too young to know the consequences of their words. The soldiers, their jobs done for the year, had let their guard down just long enough for a reporter and his cameraman to burst from the crowd and into the road. The Major turned and gasped as 10 or so sunglasses fell off his face. The soldiers stumbled over each other to stop them, but it was too late. The cameraman centered on Garrity's stony, defiant face. Go, go, Garrity, you won. What do you have to say? A hush fell over the crowd. Time seemed to freeze as the people awaited their champion's answer. I'm horny, Garrity trumpeted, for my mom. There was silence. Somewhere a woman started to weep.
Please be done.
A man in the front row threw up on a baby wearing a sash that said the Vietnam War. And with a smile on his face, Garrity came in his pants and his feet fell off and he died. The end? Question mark?
Hey everyone, thank you for listening to The Long Walk. That's how we ended this story, apparently. Thank you for joining us on this special book club edition. We hope it helped you revisit the story, or maybe convinced you it's even more Oedipal than you remembered. Either way, whether you're about to watch the movie or just finished it, we would love to hear your thoughts. Follow us on our social media, search Derry Public Radio on your preferred platform. You can also chat with us on our Discord. The link for that is in the show notes. And you can send us an email at derrypublicradio@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out our Etsy store, etsy.com/derrypublicradio for merchandise, and our Patreon for bonus episodes and live streams. That's all for now, listeners. Goodbye.